Hello students, welcome to Sri classes. Let us continue with lecture number 2, chapter number 6, life processes. The second part which we are going to study is the nutrition in plants. In order to understand the nutrition in plants, let us try to identify some parts of a cross section of a leaf basically. Here a leaf is taken. This entire leaf is called a leaf lamina or a leaf blade. The central part is the midrib and all these are cross parts are called veins basically. A cross section of the leaf is taken. In that cross section, a small part of this leaf's cross section is enlarged and some of the parts have been identified. So thing is, the top layer here, this top layer is called the upper epidermis. The bottom layer of the leaf is called lower epidermis. The top layer has a waxy coating called waxy cuticle. At the bottom portion, you have stomatal pores, which are tiny pores used for exchange of gases. Each stomatal pore is bordered by two kidney-shaped guard cells. Opening and closing of the stomatal pores is enabled by guard cells. All these are the cell organelles basically. In that, you can see some green dots, and these green dots are called chloroplasts. Also, you can find some air spaces. So these are the main components, and here the same portion has been given once again here, and this picture is quite clear. Upper epidermis, lower epidermis. The soft portion, the in-between region, is called the mesophyll, and you find small green dots, chloroplasts, inside the cells. So you have understood the location of chloroplasts inside the cell, which are basically the green dots. In this picture, it is very clear how the guard cells are bordered to the stomatal pores here. The holes over here, tiny holes or the tiny pores, are called the stomatal pores. I think you are understanding these parts. Okay. Probably you may be asked to locate the different parts if the diagram is given to you, or you may be asked to draw the diagrams also. Hence, it is preferable to know the all parts of a cross section of a plant leaf. Fine. Let's go to the next slide. So, autotrophic nutrition, the mode of nutrition in which the food is prepared by the organism itself. Which category of organisms comes into this mode of nutrition? All green plants and algae fall under the category of autotrophic nutrition. So, what exactly is the site of photosynthesis? Where the photosynthesis takes place? We know that photosynthesis is a process by which food is prepared by the plants in the chloroplasts. So the site of photosynthesis is basically the chloroplasts. What are chloroplasts? These are the plastids which contain a green pigment called chlorophyll. So let us define the photosynthesis, which is a very simple definition basically. It is a process in which plants prepare their own food from carbon dioxide and water in the presence of chlorophyll and sunlight to produce what? Carbohydrates, which are nothing but glucose over here. So along with this glucose, oxygen and water are also produced. This oxygen is released into the atmosphere. In fact, here oxygen and water are once again the byproducts of photosynthesis, and oxygen is released into the atmosphere. That oxygen is utilized by the animals and the human beings for their oxidation process. So what is photosynthesis is what we are defining. So once again, it is a process. Photosynthesis is a process by which the green plants prepare their own food from carbon dioxide and water, and this photosynthesis is carried out in the presence of sunlight. That is, sunlight provides the energy, and in the presence of chlorophyll, which is a green pigment present in the chloroplast, to produce glucose basically. That is a photosynthesis. Now, here I have written carbohydrates. Remember, the energy requirement of the plant is met by glucose basically. So if the glucose is not utilized by the plant immediately, in that case several units of glucose are combined together and stored in the form of starch. So what exactly is the starch basically? If the immediate energy, or if the glucose is not, if the glucose which is produced as a result of photosynthesis, if that glucose is not utilized by the plant for that immediate energy requirement, then that glucose will be stored in the form of starch. So what exactly is the starch? First of all, a complex organic molecule, and it is a polymeric glucose. Poly means many, mers means units. Glucose is a single unit. Such more units, if those are combined together, then we call that as a starch, which is a polymeric glucose. I hope you are understanding over here. And one question comes generally: what are the raw materials that are used by green, that are used by the green plants to produce the food or to prepare the food? So these are the things which have been listed. All these are raw materials. Sunlight, chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and water are the four raw materials by which the plants prepare their own food. It is quite clear. Out of this important site of photosynthesis, chloroplast, the process, the chemical reaction, and this is basically, the glucose is called a carbohydrate, and glucose, if it is not utilized immediately, then it will be stored in the plant as starch, which is a polymeric glucose. And these are the raw materials. Let's go to the next one. Next slide. Very important here, events that take place during the photosynthesis. 3 events have been listed in your textbook. Generally you get 1 mark question on list the events that occur during photosynthesis. So let us see what are these events. First one, absorption of light energy by the chlorophyll. Second, conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecules into hydrogen and oxygen, and reduction of carbon dioxide to carbohydrates. And these are the 3 steps that are involved during photosynthesis. Let me elaborate a little bit on this one. See, how does this energy is utilized in this process, in the process of photosynthesis? Sunlight energy, it is trapped by the chlorophyll pigment which is present in the chloroplast. So the sunlight energy is converted into a chemical energy. This chemical energy is used to split the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. Oxygen is a byproduct and hydrogen goes back in the preparation of food basically. That is carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and also some electrons are required for this process, which are donated by NADPH molecule, and using this hydrogen, carbon dioxide and the electron, a glucose is synthesized in the stroma basically. We will see, that is in the plants you can say. And thus the absorption of sunlight energy. What is the use of sunlight energy is just we have to understand that light energy is converted into chemical energy, and the chemical energy is used to split the water molecule into oxygen and hydrogen. Oxygen is a byproduct which is released outside, and that hydrogen is utilized again for production of glucose. Conversion of light energy to chemical energy and splitting of water molecule, that I explained, and reduction of carbon dioxide. Whatever hydrogen is produced, that hydrogen along with carbon dioxide, along with electron, the reduction process takes place and glucose is produced. So these are the 3 important steps generally. You need not explain much in detail. Generally the question asked will be, what are the events that take place during the photosynthesis? So important is, as it is, you must be able to remember this. Now, these 3 events that take place in a plant need not occur in a sequence. Why it is so? See here, in a desert plant, your textbook gives one example that in the desert plant, For example, let me read this for you. These steps need not take place one after the other immediately or in a particular sequence basically. For example, in desert plants, they take up carbon dioxide at night. Are you able to understand? They take up carbon dioxide at night, prepare an intermediate which is acted upon by the energy absorbed by the chlorophyll during the daytime. That means this is what I mean to say is the steps which are taking place over here need not take place one after the other or maybe in a particular sequence, and the desert plant is one example which is given in your textbook. Maybe not much of a consequence, may not be much of help. I think these are the 3 points which are important. Fine. So let us proceed to the next slide. Yeah. So far we understood energy requirements of the plant is met by glucose, and glucose is a result of photosynthesis process. What is photosynthesis? We define, and what are the 3 events that takes place during the photosynthesis is what we saw. Now there is an activity and an experiment to show that chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. See here, this activity is important. Sometimes you have to describe an activity to show that the chlorophyll is required for photosynthesis process. So here, there is an activity I just want to explain to you. See, let us take some variegated leaf. The activity here is chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. You understand? Chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. Let us see what is this activity. Let us take variegated leaf. What is variegated leaf? The leaf which contains green parts, green colored pigments, and also non-green colored regions. For example, crotons and money plant. You can see here the green region as well as white region. The green region contains the chlorophyll pigment, the chloroplast basically, and the white region does not contain the chlorophyll here. So such a leaf we will take it, and what we have to do here, there is an activity in your textbook which is given. First you take such a plant and keep it in a dark room for about 3 days. What happens? The entire starch which is present in the plant is utilized, isn't it? So no more glucose is present there. The entire glucose or the starch, polymeric glucose, is utilized if you keep the plant in dark room for 3 days. Then you pick up that plant and keep it in the outside for about 6 hours. Keep that plant outside means you subject it to the sunlight for about 6 hours. Pluck a leaf of that, such leaf basically. Take a tracing paper on which you trace the green parts. Are you able to understand? You take a tracing paper, keep it over the leaf and trace the green parts of the leaf basically. That means using the tracing paper and comparing with the leaf, you should be able to tell which is the green part of the leaf. So trace the green part of the leaf. Next, take this leaf and put into a boiling water for some time. It becomes very soft. Then take the leaf and boil it in alcohol. Are you able to understand? The leaf should be taken and boiled in alcohol. Remember, alcohol cannot be subjected to the flame directly, and therefore alcohol is heated in water bath. I hope you understand that. You can read your experiments. What do you mean by water bath and all. So alcohol is heated in the water bath basically. That means there is a beaker containing water, and that water is heated. The alcohol which is contained in a beaker is put into that water, and indirectly the alcohol is heated. Fine. You put the leaf which was earlier put into the boiling water. Now you put that leaf into the alcohol. What happens? Decolorization takes place, meaning the green part of the plant, green part of the leaf will get decolorized. You got it? That means all the pigment has been removed over there. Now you take that leaf and put into a solution of iodine. It should be a dilute solution of iodine. You put the leaf into a dilute solution of iodine. You already know the action of iodine on starch. Iodine turns blue-black wherever there is a starch. Wherever there is no starch, the color observed will be either pale yellow or slight brown color. Are you able to understand? So when the leaf, which after decolorization is put into a few minutes in the iodine solution, and then when it is taken out and rinsed, the result is this one. Here you can see this. The result is here. What is that result? Wherever the green portion was there on the leaf, there the photosynthesis took place, glucose was produced, starch was produced, and therefore iodine turns blue-black. That means wherever you had marked earlier the green portion, there you can see the blue-black color of the iodine, and rest of the leaf you observe pale yellow or slight brownish color. Meaning iodine is a test for the presence of starch, or also it is called the test for starch. Iodine is a test for starch. So wherever there was a green region, there iodine turned into a blue-black, meaning the green region was responsible for photosynthesis and responsible for production of starch. And what is that green region? The green region is the one which contains chloroplasts with chlorophyll as its pigment, and therefore from this we can conclude that the chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. And some of the region where iodine did not turn blue-black is the region where no photosynthesis took place. I hope you are able to understand. So this test is very important. This activity is very important to show that chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. I hope you are able to understand this. Okay, fine. Let us proceed to the next slide. How the plant obtains carbon dioxide. Please study this diagram. Okay. Now, how the plant obtains carbon dioxide? We know the gaseous exchange takes place through stomatal pores. Stomatal pores are the tiny pores present beneath the leaf, which is the lower epidermis, which we have seen already. So here also this diagram shows the presence of stomatal pores. Now, how this opening and closing of stomatal pores takes place is the subject topic over here. That means how the gaseous exchange takes place. The gaseous exchange takes place through the stomatal pores. Opening and closing of the stomatal pores is responsible for passage of carbon dioxide and oxygen through the pores, in and out of the leaf basically. Of course, stomatal pores are present on the roots, on the stem and the aerial parts of the plant, which are leaves. Through everywhere, all across these parts basically the gaseous exchange takes place, but mainly leaves are the aerial parts of the plant, or the leaves are the ones majorly they contribute for the exchange of gases. So stomatal pores are the ones through which the exchange of CO2 and oxygen takes place. Also please remember, there is one more function performed by stomatal pore. See, there is something called transpiration. What is transpiration? Loss of excess water in the form of vapor through stomatal pores is called transpiration. What is that? Loss of excess water through vapor through the stomatal pores is called transpiration. Now, how the opening and closing of the stomatal pores happen? That happens through guard cells. What are guard cells? You can see here, these are the guard cells basically, and these guard cells also contain chloroplasts, nucleus, and the shape of these guard cells is basically kidney shaped, isn't it? Two guard cells kidney shaped. Those are bordered, those are surrounding the stomatal pore. How do these guard cells open and close the stomatal pores? Entry of water into the guard cells make them to swell up. The moment they swell up, there is an opening formed at the center and the gaseous exchange can take place. Exit of water through the guard cells make them to shrink, and shrinkage of the guard cells causes closing of the stomatal pores. So once again, entry of water into the guard cells make them to swell up. The moment these guard cells, both the guard cells swell up, the opening of the stomatal pore takes place. Exit of water from the guard cells make it to shrink. The moment they shrink, the closing of the guard cells take place. Thus the opening and closing is enabled by the guard cells, a pair of guard cells, and then the gaseous exchange takes place. This is what has been explained over here. Okay, which is very clear. Fine. Let's go to the next line. Yeah, there is one more activity given in your textbook, that is carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Very important activity. See, one of the raw materials used for photosynthesis is carbon dioxide. How do you show that carbon dioxide is essential raw material and without which photosynthesis cannot be performed? That means carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. What we will do here is take two plants, basically potted plants. First keep them in a dark room for about 3 to 4 days. What happens? The entire starch stored will be utilized by the plant and no more starch is present in that. Take both the plants now and keep it in sunlight for about you can do one thing. After taking out from the dark room, directly you bring them outside and place the two plants, potted plants, on a glass sheet. Place the two potted plants on a glass sheet. Next, you invert a glass bell jar over the two plants. But make sure in one of the bell jars you keep small quantity of potassium hydroxide in a watch glass, which is just kept next to the plant, potted plant, and cover this bell jar over this plant and this watch glass. And in another potted plant, simply cover that potted plant with a bell jar. Take a wax and seal at the bottom. Apply a wax throughout the joint so that it becomes airtight. That means no more CO2 can go there, isn't it? From the atmosphere, CO2 cannot go into the plant. So in this setup now, here you have placed KOH, potassium hydroxide solution. Here there is no KOH present. When it is subjected to sunlight for about 6 to 7 hours, then take the leaf of this plant and take the leaf of this plant. A is the leaf of that plant where KOH was kept. B is that leaf where the plant was kept under the bell jar without KOH. Observe here. Plant B, this one, without KOH, has synthesized the starch by photosynthesis. That means here, photosynthesis took place, starch is produced. But here, photosynthesis did not take place, starch is not produced. Why it is so? Dear students, remember the KOH which is kept next to the plant over here, it absorbs all the CO2 present in this bell jar. No more CO2 is present over here, whereas in this bell jar, CO2 is present in the bell jar. That CO2 is utilized by the plant. In the presence of sunlight, it has prepared glucose, which is a starch, basically polymeric glucose, which is a starch, and therefore when it is subjected to iodine test, this will turn blue-black, whereas this will not turn blue-black, meaning here no photosynthesis took place, no starch is produced. Here photosynthesis took place and starch is produced. The reason why this plant did not produce starch, because no photosynthesis could take place. Why it is so? Because KOH absorbed CO2 present over here, and hence we can conclude CO2 is required, carbon dioxide is required for photosynthesis process. I hope you are able to understand, and please read yourself these activities which are given in the textbook, and you can watch my video also simultaneously so that you'll be able to understand what are the conclusions over here. That's it? Fine. Yeah, that's all for this lecture. We'll end the session and we'll see you in the next lecture. Thank you very much.